Show off. Perfect form, by the way. Well done.
Nice.
Too enthusiastic thumbs up for me.
Let me get a shirt on. 1 sec.
All right. Nice. Well done. Well played. I like it. We are hard rock keto anyway, right?
Meet Rob Goodwin. He's the founder of the Ketogenic Bodybuilding Facebook group. He's spent thousands of hours questioning the validity of every strength, conditioning, and nutritional protocol on the fitness landscape. Rob's most recent program, In the Trenches, can be found at kgbodybuilding.com. I've signed up and include the workouts in my training, and they kick my ass every time.
Kick my ass! Kick my ass!
I was hoping that we could talk about the fastest growing group in Facebook today. Give us some insight on bodybuilding and while being keto and fat adapted.
Absolutely. Where to begin? I've been doing this a long time. I would say I was, hashtag keto for probably going on a decade. And before that, I was, what I would call more primal paleo. And I kind of stumbled onto that by accident too. But all of this came out of my foray into the bodybuilding world from the early 90s. And in that era, it was just all about putting in the work, man. It was about hard work, pounding calories. We would do all those things that you heard about. We'd go in there and we'd squat until we threw up. Then we'd go do another set. We'd have busted, blood vessels in our eyeballs and bruising on our shoulders, and we'd just kill ourselves. And I was pounding 8,000 to 10,000 calories a day, and people often don't believe that, but I did that stuff. I was that guy that would go into the GNC back in the day, and you get the Weeders Mega Mass, 5 million dog food bag full of protein powder.
2,200 pound packing calories in every serving. Fortified with guarana, creatine, royal jelly, plus OKG. Guaranteed with hard workouts and 2,200 Pro Performance Weight Gainer. You can have a bigger body. Cast it right. Only at GNC.
But it's all, back then, it is what it is today. Hard training, really dialing in the nutrition, and I think we've got a lot smarter with our nutrition. And as I went through the years, I fell in love with the sport of bodybuilding, but I translated that more into the personal training aspect. And I'll tell you, when you're in a gym and you're in the trenches and you're living this every single day, 5-6 days a week with dozens and dozens of clients, and you talk about a controlled research study. I mean, you're with these people, you're living it with these people, they're giving you this feedback, so you determine very quickly what works. And I'm not a lab coat dude, I'm not the dude conducting the research. Those guys are the real rock stars. My job is to take that information and translate it through real people, and see what the results and the outcome is based on the individual. And then I sort of report those findings to the next client. We grow that, and it becomes a thing. And as I went through this process over the years, I stumbled onto the Primal Paleo thing, and that made sense to me immediately. Because in the bodybuilding culture, we sort of had a leg up because we knew that carbohydrates were a tool. So it made sense to me when I'm seeing the data about how we can, reduce inflammation, control insulin, and create this better human environment. And then when you start doing the research in the Primal Paleo thing, a pesky word kept popping up, and that was ketosis. So I investigated that further, and that made sense to me. But everybody said at that time, oh, well, you can't train hard on keto. It doesn't work. It's impossible. You can't put on muscle. You can't train hard. You can't kill yourself in the gym. I kind of made it my mission to really jump back hard in the gym and not only see what I could push my physique, but then also, competing on stage with that protocol. And sort of the rest is history with that. And we've blown that mystique out of the water like a nuclear bomb. If you remember in 2016, that's when the keto thing exploded. And it became the most searched term on Google. And then it became this huge phenomenon. But the phenomenon was, it's all about fat. It's all about fat. Fat. It's all about chugging fat, drinking fat, putting sticks of butter in your coffee, and that's what it was. And we all got kind of sucked into that. But once we came to our senses and came back to what we knew was right about going through the adaptation phase, which is the first step before you take it to advanced levels, like people in the ketogenic bodybuilding group do. So ketogenic bodybuilding was sort of like the next evolution that I thought would be a tiny niche, but now we're seeing that it's this huge thing that's just growing like a weed, and I'm really, really proud of it. So now we really just want to see how far we can take this thing.
I share a lot of similarities to the background of food-wise anyway. Like I came from the paleo world.
Right.
About 10 years ago or so, I entered the CrossFit realm, and before it went all and it made so much sense to me back then to restrict carbs and focus on protein and veggies. Just like you, over time, I kept seeing this keto thing. What's that? What is it? And it kind of fell in my lap. So it's funny how there is that pocket of people that started from paleo and kind of like morphed into keto. And I feel like the two are like pretty much like cousins.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe that completely. And then it just went off the rails. And, not to say that, some of the newer, the new wave of keto isn't a good thing, because the more we can bring this protocol of eating, this way of eating to the masses, the better. I'm all for it. Right. But everybody that sits down and talks to me, the very first thing I say is, hey, rule one, keto is not about high fat. It's about low carb. This is simple science. If I'm going to get you into a level of mild to moderate ketosis, which is all that's necessary, I have to do one of two things. I've either got to reduce carbohydrates substantially, or I have to starve you to death, which I don't recommend. So all I got to do is reduce your level of carbohydrates, and as a defense mechanism, your body will flip this lever and start burning stored body fat, adipose, and the result of that burning in the liver is ketones to fuel the body. I mean, you know how this works.
As a result, you'll produce ATP, which was the overall goal. Oh, it's beautiful.
But it never had anything to do with fat. And now we have these people out here coming to me saying, hey, I tried this keto thing. I'm eating these sticks of butter, blocks of cream cheese, and I'm pouring lard down my throat by the buckets. And I lost 10 pounds to begin with, and it kind of worked for a second, but now I've stalled, or now I'm gaining weight. I feel like shit and whatever. And it's usually a very simple fix. We kind of turn the knobs on that, and it's usually just a simple matter of reducing the fat to match their level of output, making sure they're fully fat adapted and they were compliant over that 4 to 6 week period, and then making sure that their protein level is adequate as well. And so many people have adopted this therapeutic ketogenic mentality when it's about nutritional ketosis to achieve your nutritional requirements as well as energy requirements. And it's not that hard. It's like you have on your website, meat and plants. It's not freaking hard, dude.
Your rules of engagement, which you can get for free on your website, correct?
kgbodybuilding.com.
Okay.
And we got the free report that anybody can download with 7 rules of engagement, things that you would want to do if you fit that mold of that person that's trying to reach that extreme physique. So it doesn't just apply to the super freak bodybuilder, because if you think about it, man, if you look at our group, which is nearly 3,000 members now, like that, I'd say maybe 1-2% actually compete.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It's mostly just everyday people, chugging out their lives, just trying to be the best they can around a job and kids and careers and school and spouses and whatever the hell else they're doing out there. And we've got some characters in there too. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you know all about that. But so hey, if you want to see a real shit show, join the KGB bodybuilding group.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
We've taken that hybrid bodybuilding physique competitor protocol, and we've created a hybrid with a properly formulated ketogenic protocol that incorporates properly timed refeeds, which you are a pro at that. And it's turned into this thing that's just working. And I have been able at 50 years old to produce a physique that I'm more proud of than the physiques I had in my 20s.
That's where a lot of people fail when they try keto and it doesn't work for them.
Right.
You know, during that adaptation phase, there's a lot of downfall, a lot of like spiraling. You lose in strength. You're getting these headaches. You don't know about electrolytes yet, and there's a lot of information that you need to have during that adaptation phase, or else you're just like, okay, no, it's not for me. And so what I really like about your rules of engagement is right off the bat, you talk about the fat adaptation, and you also talk about leptin.
Right.
And that's something that's never really discussed as much as electrolytes, as the fat adaptation phase. Do you think maybe you could give us some sort of summary of what leptin is?
And leptin is complicated. And I try to make, again, I try to explain everything like you're a 5-year-old, because that's the way I like it explained to me. But leptin is this critical energy hormone that has it has an interplay with insulin, cortisol, all these things. But basically, it's a satiety hormone. And again, if it goes too far in either direction, satiety is not controlled, hunger is not controlled, and it becomes very dysregulated. So simple, and the thing that drives me crazy is I work a lot with people in the medical profession. I have a lot of clients who are in the medical profession who freely admit, in confidence, that many in the medical profession know very little about becoming lean, about nutrition, because it's all about diagnosed to prescribe, and it's completely mind-numbing to me. So, they often admit that some of the morbidly obese people have this severe leptin resistance along with insulin resistance, and until that leptin is reset, and we do that best through a low carbohydrate diet, because fat has it makes no difference to leptin. It doesn't have an interplay with leptin. It doesn't stimulate the production. And again, with refeeds, as even the leanest among us can have some imbalances occur hormonally, insulin, leptin, and so on. So by using carbohydrate, is that I always say carbohydrate is like that strange little wrench you have in your toolbox that fits that one damn bolt that you rarely ever need to loosen or tighten, but every once in a while you do. And if you don't have that one damn wrench, then your day is ruined because you can't fix things.
Perfect.
So we manipulate, carbohydrate. I'll say that, hey, we made carbohydrate our bitch. We use it in a way that is going to benefit us. We don't, carbohydrate, the micronutrient benefit, of course, some bit of fiber. You don't need as much as you think. But we're going to use it as this cool, unique tool. Leptin is a critical hormone that needs to be balanced as well. And we do that through the reduction of carbohydrates, but also sometimes a stimulation is required, as with insulin, to be able to bring our physique to the level that we want to bring it to.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for that. Let's talk about training a bit.
We're getting to the good stuff now.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say there's an appropriate time to train, say, twice a day while cramming tons of food versus, training 3 times a week and not getting enough calories? Like, is there an extreme bodybuilding protocol if you want to bulk up really quickly?
Right, I get it. And I'm going to give my world famous answer that I give to every client that I have, and it pisses every one of them off daily, and that is, it depends. And nobody wants to hear it depends, but if I'm being truthful to you, then I'm going to tell you that there are no absolutes in any of this. And anybody that comes on the group or whatever, you're free to say pretty much whatever you want, within certain limits in that group. But if you tell me that everything is an absolutism, I'm going to stop you dead in your tracks, because it varies for the individual. And me working with thousands and thousands of people in the trenches for 24 years, I've proven that time and again. So what works for you may not work for me, and et cetera. But what I found is, and again, it's no secret that if you read my material, I say it over and over again, this is a hybrid bodybuilding ketogenic protocol. And for me, muscular hypertrophy is the key. Hypertrophy requires a steady influx of nutrients, number one. And it also takes you having to push the muscle to the point of momentary muscular failure. But it also requires that you incorporate high intensity techniques and kind of shake things up throughout each workout. And I think the volume approach kind of applies. People say, well, do you like high volume, lower intensity, or do you like high intensity, low volume? And I would say, well, yeah, I do. I like them. Because I literally put both into my workouts. You know, one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time was Dorian Yates. Because when I got into bodybuilding, he just became the reigning Mr. Olympia. And when you read stories about him, there was no internet then, so you're just reading these cool stories in the magazines. You know, he was the antithesis of the California sunbathing, riding around in your Corvette bodybuilder picking up babes. But what he did is he took that high intensity protocol that Menser and Arthur Jones made so popular, but he made it his own, which is kind of what I did. So he would work up a moderate, you know, maybe 60 to 70% of 1 rep max in a set, do it again, get a little bit of volume in there, and then on that 3rd, 4th, or 5th set, go to the point of total death. I'll do your traditional, let's say bench press. I'll do 4 or 5 sets of bench press at maybe 60 to 75% of my 1 rep max. And then on that last heavy set, I'm going to push it to the point of death. And I'd better have a meathead on this side of the bar and a meathead on this side of the bar, or else I'm going to die that day, because I'm going to get that thing up if it kills me. And then we finish that last to the death rep. And then what we may do after that is we may go through like a 100 rep set rest pause to create that uber intensity. And even on high rep sets, this is something that I pound into everybody's head. This is a big tip for me. Failure to me, reaching that point of muscular failure, is even more important on high rep sets. I don't believe in this. Let's crank out 100 tricep press downs and it's burning a little bit. You get the pump. Everybody's chasing the pump, which really doesn't mean shit. But you know, for me, if I'm doing a set of tricep press downs, I'll do it in a rest pause. I'll set a weight that I might be able to get 15 or 20. And then what I'll do is I'll set the criteria and I'll get one of my training partners to make sure that I stick with that. So basically, I do 15 or 20, my triceps are cooked, and I stop. I take 5 breaths, and then I pick the weight back up again. And not 6 breaths, not 7, but 5. And if I don't start pushing that weight at 5 breaths, my workout partners smack me in the head, say, let's go. So it's this uber intensity working through those 100 reps. So it's almost like doing 4 or 5 sets.
Wow.
You set this criteria of, I'm only going to take 5 breaths or 4 breaths or whatever, and I'm going to take this to the nth degree of intensity. And again, that's going to cause further tissue breakdown to make hypertrophy occur, provided you've created the right stimulus with the proper diet, recovery, and so on.
When you're going to the gym and you're in the gym and you're training, you're not growing, you're breaking down and you're putting stress on your body. Then your body has to recover, and to do this you need adequate rest and you need correct nutrition. And of course, supplements can be a great help. The nutrition and the training is and the supplementation, it all goes together.
You know, nutrition goes so far into making all this work. I mean, it's the catalyst that makes all this work. So by having so much attention put into your nutrition protocol, which we do, it makes all the difference in the world. There's nothing I hate more than a dirty bulk. Nothing I hate more. These guys that come to the gym and say, yeah, I want to get big, I want to be, I'm going to be a monster, and so I tell them within a 30-second conversation the criteria to get that way, and all of a sudden they're changing their tune. Oh, you mean I got to stop drinking, 6-pack of beer every night? I can't have my fast food. I can't have this. I think you should always train from a point of leanness when you're trying to gain. And if you're not there, get there first. I really believe that in my experience. And I think in off season, you should have lightly exposed abdominals. And in season, you should have carved abdominals. Eating shit is bullshit. I think as we develop these things we're doing online, and I have this opportunity through video and through programming, virtually out in this cool internet thing to help people, I think people like you and I are going to be able to make a real impact by creating this hybrid and spreading the word.
For sure, man. If we can get the right message and spread real keto out there, especially in the bodybuilding and fitness world, the more people that we have do that, I think that's what's going to save keto in terms of where it's headed. And that's kind of a good segue of my last question here, if you don't mind. Where do you see keto going? And do you think it's great that it's become explosively popular, or do you think because of like, the internet and so many keto gurus out there spreading these wrong messages that it's just going to die?
I don't think it's going to die, because I think in the world of nutrition, and again, being a personal trainer and a coach for 24 years, I've seen every fad diet, everything that's come down the road for 24 years. I've never seen anything that had the staying power that paleo did. I really think real keto is more ancestral than paleo. I really do. Because I alluded to it earlier, when I was doing my research in Paleo Primal, you saw that our ancestors were lucky to eat once a day, and they had to have the strength and the body and the means to be able to navigate a harsh terrain in order to bring back food. And at that time, the goal was fatty meat. So they would risk life and limb trying to kill something that very well could kill them back, and take this massive risk to bring back the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, fatty meat, to their families with the organ meats and the bone and the marrow and all these things. So they would reach a level of nutritional ketosis to be able to burn their reservoir body fat, produce these ketones to fuel their bodies to go off on these rigorous hunts, to go out there in a harsh terrain and kill these animals. They didn't have the benefit of technology to where we can take advantage of being able to eat frequently and put the nutrients in our body and manipulate our body through some technology. Our ancestors didn't have that option. And I really think ketosis is what drove them. I think our Paleolithic ancestors were far more driven by ketosis than they were by tubers, okay? Yeah. It was even Mark Sisson, who I greatly admire, who was one of the first people I read coming into Primal and Paleo back in the early 2000s. He put it very clearly, body fat is bad. You don't need a lot. And even Mark has really, jumped into the keto pool as well. And we know this, and we know that he's tapping resources from some people that we greatly admire. So I just take that information and sort of apply it to my clients in the trenches. And we always see a positive result when we dial that fat back a little, when we up that protein a little, when we really turn the knobs on your macros, when we hit the proper caloric ceiling. Oh, whoops. Did you know that calories still freaking matter? Yes, they do. And I know you know this. Yeah, I think it's a great thing that it's so popular. I see it going very, very long term. I mean, it is a lifestyle. We know this. We're not trying to be, just a catchphrase here, but it truly is a lifestyle. And there's so many people getting such amazing results from this once they seek the right professionals to help them through this. 100%. But I think the groundswell and the power of the internet and everything is just going to keep it moving forward, and we're going to kind of weed out of those false gurus, and I think it'll kind of take care of itself. I really do. Perfect. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time, man. Oh, man, I could do this all day. Yeah, I know. For sure. I'm gonna go man, I appreciate everything you do in the group. Thank you so much for your contributions. You help keep that thing glued together. You really do. And we've got a phenomenal group of people in there, and I really see this going places. We're going to take over the world, man. And right you're going to be the new face. You're the man. Nice. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. For sure. You have a good one. Have a great weekend, man.